So what we're doing today is we're making a carrier of light. All right, so the first thing you'll be asked to do is to fold the paper in half in all of the ways that you can. So I want you to notice that I've lined up that corner. My fingers are spread to really hold this flat, and I'm moving toward the middle. So I'm starting from the middle out. The other thing you're going to want to do is when you've created a fold, you're going to fold it in both directions. So you're really making these creases flexible by folding them twice. So you'll see I've now got an X this way, an X this way, and I'm going to fold it in half all the way, so I still need to do one more. But fortunately, all of those lines have crossed in the middle, so now we have a center. So that's the first thing we want to do. Now what we're going to do, can you see that we've got a crease in the center and we've got a crease in the corner? Mm-hmm. So we've got 4 creases that are in the corner and we have 4 creases that are in the center. So making sure that it's going to fold on the middle, I'm going to take one of these center ones and I'm going to bring that over. Thank you. You can move all of that. Thank you, John. And I'm going to move so the middle crease matches up with that. And if I've done this well, bless us and save us, said Mrs. O'Davis, then this is also a middle crease, is going to line up with this corner crease. So what I'm looking at now, before I take the bone folder to it, is I'm making sure that that lines up, that middle crease lines up with that, and that I'm right here at the middle. Is this making sense to everybody so far? Mm-hmm. You're going to have your own instructions, but it's incredibly helpful to just hear and let it sink in. And then I'm very relieved and pleased to see that line went right through the middle. So all I'm doing now is getting it to fold in the other way. In the end, you're going to be very happy when you have all these. All right. So now I'm going to take another middle. Oh, that's the one I've already done. Let's try this middle. Goes over to that corner, and then I find the middle over here, so there are 3 points at this, and I would say that in terms of the success of your Luminaria, this is gonna, sometimes I actually get them to fold. There we go, there we go. This stage right here where we're making all these folds is probably the most important. So you're going to notice me, I keep checking, is that right? Has this slipped off? Is this at the middle? And only when I feel comfortable that it is, do I take the bone folder. Now you might also notice that sometimes the paper will have a few, you might see a little bit of the original white paper showing through, and that is not going to be a problem at all. In the end, when you have these lit, it's just going to be another way that light gets through. Started doing this, we just had these 4 quadrants, and now you'll notice that we've got one, this has been divided into 4, that's been divided into 4, and this one is the one line that we haven't made yet. So sometimes that's how you find. I know there's going to be a diagonal line that will go through here. That's the one we're lacking. And so that means I'm going to want this middle line come over here, and where's the middle, and where's this middle line? Yeah. So now we're going to take one of these diagonals, and can you see how we have these corners that extend? Mm-hmm. And you can use a ruler, or as long, and maybe it's not a bad idea, even if I just use the ruler to hold this so I don't slide under it, I'm just gonna come right along that edge. What the ruler is doing is sometimes you might move the paper and then your line won't be exactly where you are hoping for it to be, so I'll show you what I've done after I've made all 4 of them. So we've now drawn those, and that's going to take the corners off. And what you might also notice is that these lines go from a crease. So these we're going to cut off. So the paper that we're working on before it was had the paste paper designs put on it is just a 50 to 70, this is actually a 90-pound white sulfate drawing paper, and it's been rubbed with vegetable oil, just an inexpensive vegetable oil, and then put between newspaper overnight, and that flattens it. And that the paper just by capillary action absorbs all that oil. So these are oiled pieces of paper outside. So what I'm doing now, each one of these flat sides has a midpoint. And I'm taking that midpoint and I'm going to fold it up along its own line, and I'm bringing these corners to meet one of those lines. So again, there's a lot of lining up that we do with this. That's why kind of being slow and deliberate is good. And again, I'm going to work from the middle out and crease this, and you'll see in a moment that I'm going to create a square. So once again, you see me reinforcing a crease that I've made. So I'm taking the midpoint on this side, I'm bringing it up, I'm bringing these little peaked corners till they meet that crease, and I'm checking to make sure that's in the midpoint. So now, once we've done that and we've made that square, then we open it back up again. And now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use this midpoint and we're going to make a second square. Does that make sense? So we've got that square. Now we're going to create a second square in the same way, but in a slightly different location. And those creases will be part of what allow the Luminaria to come together in a good way. That again, we've got a second square, and now we're ready to make things start happening. So can you see that there's a peak and then a flat part, and then there are sort of points or peaks that stand out? So at this point, if you take the peaks, the pointy ones, and you fold those out, and then the flat area stays in, fold those out. That makes sense how I'm taking those. One of the things that's lovely about these is that it's possible to build them and have them flat, so you could actually send this through the mail. You might have to send a little video that shows, because then you can open it up once it gets there. But obviously that would be a little trickier to send, although you could. So now that's one of the ways that it could go through there. Can you see how we get a kite shape there when I cut those top parts down? So we call that a valley crease. So that valley fold in there, if I tuck these down, we get this kite shape. So that is gonna help you to know where you are. Does everybody see that? Does that make sense? All right, so now we take that first kite and I'm gonna fold these down and crease that right along there. Then I go to the next one, and you'll see already I have part of the kite folded down. So I've got the valley crease. These are the mountains, that's the valley. And then I'm going to take the top of the kite and I fold that part down. And then when you do that, you've already got one of these folded down. And so I'm now just moving around the circle that we created. It's like you've done all this folding and then all of a sudden it gets to start happening. Any questions about this part? So I'm going to encourage this kite to be a valley fold. I want that to go in. And then there's the kite. And I'm bringing the top part of the kite down and folding. And you can see as I'm moving around the circle that there's a luminaria beginning to be born. Right in front of our very own eyes. Doing the same thing all the way around. And then when I get there, that's where we are. Yeah, so in order so it won't wobble, so we're gonna now put our hand down there and very gently flatten it down. And that's what you can also use these for too. Because these are what, everybody's gonna go home with one of these. That will go right down in there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Wow. That's amazing. Very cool.
Yeah. And other sort of, because I know we have some experienced origami people, the other thing you can do is you'll see there's a crease in here. So you can also, to make these even crisper, I can do what's called a valley fold right in there. So I'm encouraging that to go down and crisping that up. It's just going to make these corners a little crisper. But as you can see, it worked just beautifully without me doing that. Okay, so.
What are the dimensions of the paper you used?
You know, these are, the original papers were 12 by 18. So, sorry, they were 18 by 24. So these are approximately 17 by 17, something like that. And they're not all identical because some of them had like a little tear at the end, so I made a square. But they're in the 16 to 17 kind of area.
And that's, you suggest that as a minimum size?
They say 12 inches.
12 inches.
But the bigger it is, especially when you're learning, the easier it is to work with. And if I've got that big piece of paper, why would I want to cut some of it off, right? If I don't have to.